I'm Susan Hickemeyer, and I'd like to share the journey that led me to create the 3Melete sound healing programs. I am a doctor of behavioral health and integrated medicine, which is closest to a psychologist degree. Most people don't know what that is or have never heard of it. And I have a master's in counseling and psychology. I've always been drawn to music in different forms and played the piano and clarinet growing up. And I've always been singing since I was a child, and also felt kind of disconnected from the Western medicine system. And early in my life, I read a book titled Super Learning that is now out of print, which left a lasting impression on me because I've always been interested in how we can change our perspectives, accelerate our evolution and learning, transform and expand our consciousness, become more compassionate and kind, and how we can accelerate healing. In the early 1990s, I became a medical hypnotherapist, and at the same time was learning about shamanic drumming from a friend of mine who had been traveling to different places in the world, including Nepal and other locations, about shamanism. I immediately got myself a drum and started to use the drumming rhythms for myself and as a method in hypnotherapy for people to focus on. I began studying rhythms and sounds and different processes that could be introduced to access profound states of consciousness that made it easier and more enjoyable and transitioned people into receptive and healing states to get in touch on a deep inner level. As I explored these techniques, I began integrating them into systems that I developed over time. And at the same time, several of my friends and I began using these rhythms with goals and exploring different intentions for each other. And then through this process, I began integrating these different systems as stages of learning and development and healing content to access different qualities and experiences that tapped into our deeper selves, into the sessions when I was working with people. I discovered that people were easily able to trust the relaxation process through the specific sound patterns much easier than through regular hypnosis with only the voice. And the specific sound compositions have many different positive effects and allow the listener to focus on them and rely upon their consistency. The sound patterns carry and hold the listener in a receptive, restorative, and healing creative state of consciousness. There were so many people who told me they couldn't meditate, had tried meditation, and felt they had failed, and they gave up, and were so surprised they could easily follow the specific sound patterns. I also learned when people would tell me they felt like the amount of time that passed in the session was 5 minutes when it had really been 20 minutes, or the reverse. The amount of time that passed had been over an hour. It felt like that to them, but it had only been 20 minutes. This is how I knew they had effectively shifted their consciousness and got the benefits because their perception of time changed. In the beginning of the session, there are stated cues that inform the person in advance when it is time to return and close the session, to return back into regular waking consciousness. And in this process, there are 4 stages. There's the beginning and orientation and intention, the middle, which is really the heart, and then there's the stage of returning, and then restoration. During the restoration stage, there is silence. When there's silence, the person is integrating back into ordinary consciousness. I began working with different populations of people and always used a system that extended over 6 to 8 weeks that included different stages, content, and experiences. So it was comprehensive for the development and healing process. One of the groups of people I worked with was with mental health diagnosis, trauma, and addiction in their recovery process. This group of people were in residential treatment for almost 6 weeks and sometimes longer. The people were rotating in and out at different times. And what we did through using the drum rhythms was completely different than regular talk therapy. And I also introduced other kinds of specific sound healing compositions. Because meetings included connecting to this deep inner place, there were noticeable changes in people's demeanor from the beginning of each session when they came in and then when they left. There were positive changes in body language, being more relaxed. Their color was better. There was more connection with me in a friendly way. The energy was less heavy. There was a release of trauma and more openness and willingness to share. And people gained insight about their healing and what they wanted to bring in their life and how to sustain that. Some insights occurred in the moment, and others occurred over the duration of their stay in our sessions that contributed to their recovery. There were also changes in social relationships with others where there was more engagement, camaraderie, and less isolation. Often people had difficulty sleeping, and they would tell me they were able to sleep well without disturbance after our meetings. One of the benefits, people would tell me that they look forward to our meetings because it was very different. They liked using the sound compositions. They felt safe, and they always felt better. Because we were using particular music and sound composition, there's a no pressure feeling. In fact, it's the opposite. There's relaxation, and listening to particular sounds and their rhythms and patterns allow the people to release trauma. So people always felt better, more relieved, and less stressed and less serious. I received a card from the program director who wrote, "I don't understand what you do, but it sure works, and everyone loves you." Her content was based on an outtake form the clients filled out as part of their exit plan. And that was after being there for about 8 years. Because there were a spectrum of diagnosis and situations, some people with severe trauma, there was often an air of gravity when I would come in, but when we would do the different specific sound music composition systems I developed with these practices, it changed the feeling of the group to more levity. Seeing tension release and also hearing self-identified insights tells me they had permission to expand into their awareness and connect to their own inner healing process, which also accessed their creativity. Learning that listening to particular sounds and rhythms transforms consciousness, allowing to access healing trauma, developing interconnection, a sense of calm, release pain, help with getting sleep, develop resilience and problem solving and compassion, while also boosting the immune system, reveals why people have the benefits from their sound healing experiences. Another component of the particular sound compositions is they develop and expand intuition. This is a significant component along with creativity and resilience for our evolution, because people are able to move outside of the box thinking, out of the social norms that bind us. They're able to notice patterns and have dynamic solutions for their own lives, as well as in their careers and relationships, and for innovation. These are all characteristics of epigenetics, growing and learning as part of our evolution. And it was much later that I learned about the epigenetic effects of these practices. Because people came from all over the United States and also sometimes Canada, they were for the most part not from the area where I live, which is Tucson, Arizona, which meant I would never see anyone ever again after they left. One particularly touching moment occurred 2 years after working with a participant. I was in a different city in Prescott, Arizona, which is 4 hours away from Tucson, at a graduation ceremony. A woman I recognized as a client from the treatment center came and purposely sat next to me. She said, "I just want you to know you saved my life," which completely shocked me. It was so out of the blue. And then she went on to say, "I look forward to seeing you every week and working with the sound healing. The music and the sounds were what really worked for me and made the difference in my life." This was a rare moment for me. Another part of my journey with using sound healing methods involved a friend who traveled to India and Nepal as a buyer. He would have shipping containers sent back filled with things to sell. He purchased all the antique Tibetan bowls that he could find on every trip that are hand hammered, some of them having ancient symbols etched into them. Because he was out of the country, frequently I agreed to have the Tibetan bowls delivered and stored at my house. And because all these Tibetan bowls were stored at my house, I had the ability to sort through them, listen, and choose the best sounding ones with harmonic overtones. Harmonic overtones are when one note is played, but there are multiple other harmonizing tones created at the same time. Because of my previous research and practice, I created different systems with the Tibetan bowl sounds, how to use them, what not to do, and how to use them on the body that relates to mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual goals, and healing and insight. I integrated this content while working with the different populations. Another population I worked with was people with cancer and immune-compromised illness. I had a friend who created the Immune Recovery and Wellness Clinic in Tucson, Arizona, where people came from all over the United States for treatment, for comprehensive integrated care. I used these same sound healing systems with the different people with amazing responses. One man said he had forgotten about some long-held memories and was able to cry for the first time in over 50 years. And he felt this was very important for his healing and allowed him to release this huge weight. I also worked in internal medicine, where the primary care physicians specialized in working with chronic pain. During my time there, I created a research project and used specific sound patterns and rhythms over a 6-week time that included different methods for recording anxiety, depression, pain levels, and experiences of pain and its interference with everyday activities. The research revealed particular sound compositions had positive results in significant areas. The positive results included less pain, significantly less anxiety and depression. And instead of the pain having control over their lives they were able to navigate their regular activities, and they had gained control over their pain. This is a huge leap. I remember the research committee person that I was reporting to telling me, "Thank you so much for doing this research." He was very pleased. And during the above time, for many years, I taught a 3-year mystical studies and transformational wisdom program where these same sound patterns and compositions of beginning, intermediate, and advanced practice were part of the program. People in these programs had different spiritual awakening and transformative experiences. The use of the specific sound healing patterns facilitated people to access higher levels of consciousness swiftly and deeply, easily and consistently. People found discovery, insight, problem solving, as well as navigation methods for deep levels of connection. In individual sessions, people were able to clarify their concerns or issues and gain a new perspective, release trauma, and develop and expand their relationship with their deep inner knowing and wisdom. And a number of times I worked with Andrew Weil's integrative medicine students using these same sound compositions in groups. Over 25 years, I experienced profound results with these different populations, and the research shows when we access these heightened states, there is a release of trauma, rewiring of the brain, and neurogenesis, learning, positive hormones that are released that contribute to healing, restoration, resilience, boosting the immune system, developing calm and emotional and mental regulation, and epigenetic responses, which are positive changes that occur instead of developing physical and mental illness. During the pandemic, I spent more time on social media and realized how needed these programs are because of their profound effectiveness and how easy they are to use. It was also during the pandemic that I transformed the programs into online sound healing systems. And I realized the process of using the specific sound compositions was and is healing my own trauma, and developed and expanded my creativity and spiritual connection and intuition. And the intuition process is really what led me to put all the programs together. When I started using these sound healing compositions, the research wasn't there, but now there's plenty of research on the many benefits of using methods that transform our brainwaves from our normal waking state into alpha and deeper states that are restorative and healing for lessening depression and anxiety, releasing cortisol and inflammation that is the underlying cause of heart disease, cancer, diabetes, addiction, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia, immune-compromised illness, schizophrenia, and bipolar. So knowing that we are empowered to change how our body responds to trauma instead of contributing to getting diseases is so significant and empowering and part of our evolution. There is also research on intense musical experiences as transcendental, life-changing experiences that transform people mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Now, instead of traveling to a treatment center or a clinic, professionals can use these innovative, research-based sound healing system backed by tons of research, which is on my blog posts on the 3Melete.com. And also people can access these healing experiences from the comfort of their homes. There are 5 programs: the Getting Good Sleep program, the Healing program, the Mastering Challenging Times program, which is used for going to the dentist if someone's going through a challenging time like litigation or other difficulties and upheaval, the Managing Pain program, and the Spiritual Awakening program, also beneficial for people who are using psychedelics. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I look forward to your questions and comments and sharing more with you soon. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe and check out the 3Melete programs.